One veteran lost to suicide is too much.
Right now on News 8 at 10, questions about care. How the death of a Davenport Marine could lead to changes in health care for veterans.
He always had that smiling on his face all the time, never failed.
An emotional return, the special honor for a Quad City family and their son nearly 50 years after losing his life in Vietnam.
Live from WQAD, News 8 at 10 starts now.
Good evening, I'm Denise Hanitka.
And I'm Jim Mertens. Thanks for joining us tonight. New at 10, Iowa Senator Joe Seng of Davenport losing his battle with cancer. Senator Seng passing away today. He was diagnosed with brain cancer back in 2014. He had a brain tumor removed shortly after and then went through radiation and chemotherapy. Even through treatments, I should say, he was still active in politics. Joe Seng elected in 2010 to his third term in the Iowa State Senate. He represented Davenport and the southern portion of Scott County. Joe Seng was 69 years old. Also new at 10, Monsignor Marvin Moddett, well-known Davenport priest, passed away today. He fought for social justice and equality in the Quad Cities for decades. He also helped launch the Quad Cities Interfaith and Interfaith Housing. Moddett died 3 months after marking his 60th anniversary of becoming an ordained priest. He was 86 years old.
2 Iowa senators are now questioning the transparency of the Veterans Affairs system, both in the state and nationwide. Today, U.S. Senators Charles Grassley and Joni Ernst took a tour of the VA Medical Center in Iowa City. They're asking more questions after Davenport Marine Brandon Ketchum took his own life. His family says he was turned away from the facility. There's also concern over the shortage of beds in the VA system.
So we're talking about a national culture problem that we have in the VA that seems to not want to listen to what's wrong.
Both senators say they're waiting on a report into Ketchum's death to figure out what can be done differently at VA hospitals.
The first honor flight for Vietnam-era veterans is over, and you may have seen the stories featuring those who were on the flight. But tonight we want to feature one man who didn't board the plane, but he was certainly part of yesterday's emotional trip to Washington. News 8 is proud to have joined the honor flight yesterday, but we may be more proud of telling you about a Quad City man's story that should not be forgotten. When a charter jet arrived in Moline Thursday night, almost 100 Vietnam veterans heard the words they waited so long to hear.
And on behalf of the President and the Congress, I'd like to thank you for your service in Vietnam and welcome you home.
Just outside the plane, some 2,000 people waited to welcome these veterans back home.
Thank you for doing all the hard work.
But first off the plane was the spirit of a young Quad City man. An American flag was handed over to an active duty serviceman, embraced, and then escorted through the terminal. And 2,000 people were there when the flag received the honor it deserved and was presented to a very proud mother, Frances Pena.
He always had that smiling on his face all the time, never failed.
Her son was Jesse Joseph Pena, a 21-year-old Navy hospitalman. It was in 1970 when the family was stunned after being told Pena was killed in an ambush in the Quang Nam province in Vietnam.
I was at a friend's house and
It's still that hard, isn't it?
Okay, just stand there for a second.
In so many ways, it was an emotional day for all those who were on the honor flight.
We want everybody to be in the picture.
In Washington, outside the Lincoln Memorial, each of the veterans stood proudly, or sat in wheelchairs, united in the memories of a war that started 50 years ago.
Hand salute.
And on those steps, Jesse Joseph Pena found the comrades he never met.
We were carrying a flag for Jesse Joseph Pena from Davenport, Iowa, and he was KIA.
But on this day, fallen Navy hospitalman Jesse Pena did come home. His flag laid before the panel where his name is inscribed. It's the first time the honor flight has done that for a person who served in Vietnam.
It's a big deal.
And was an even bigger deal 9 hours later when the flag was given to the Pena family, giving them a chance to remember the oldest of 10 children who will never be forgotten.
He was a great person. Everybody loved him. Biggest smile on his face.
Jesse Pena wasn't in Vietnam long. His tour started in October of 1969. He was killed 4 months later.
Today, First Lady Michelle Obama sent a message to the next president about supporting veterans, saying they must remain a top priority.
there's something that everyone can do to support this community, but the commander-in-chief, the first family, the second family, the vice president, they have an obligation to set that tone.
Absolutely. Mrs. Obama was joined by former First Lady Laura Bush in Washington, D.C. today. She said the next president shouldn't be so eager to go to war, and there needs to be more awareness around veterans' mental health issues.
Well, we saw some showers pass through tonight, but will the rain stick around for the weekend?
James Zahara watching that radar in the first check of the forecast. Hey, James.
Hey, guys, let's go and show you where those light rain showers are taking place. And right now we're noticing it more south than east of the Quad Cities. Of course, the air is moist laden, so that's why you see the core of the radar site itself, just near the Quad Cities, is very sensitive, and that's kind of why we're seeing that. But it's really just south and east from near Macomb to just outside of Galesburg, just near Kewanee, and to about Princeton and points eastward. That's where the rain showers are taking place. No lightning whatsoever, but it is drifting away from our area, and that's a good sign as far as what we expect heading into the weekend. It was a warm and humid day before the showers, and a few thunderstorms made their way through. Got as high as 84 degrees in the Quad Cities. Currently 71 out there. Winds are dead calm. Could we actually see a little patchy fog maybe by early tomorrow morning. But hey, that's okay. It will set the tone for a little stretch of some dry weather. And I'll tell you for how long, coming up in just a few minutes. Jim?
The man charged in connection with the death of a missing woman is now facing a harsher punishment if convicted. 66-year-old Clifford Anderson now charged with concealment of a homicidal death. Earlier this week, investigators found the body of Deborah Dewey at a home in Standard, Illinois. She had been missing for several weeks. Anderson is being held in the Bureau County Jail. A Davenport man who's been behind bars since 1996 will now get a chance at parole. Today, the Iowa Supreme Court overturned Romeo Hardin's life without parole sentence and ordered a new hearing. Hardin was 15 years old when he was charged in the deadly shooting death of a 21-year-old man in Davenport. Back in May, the court banned life without parole sentences for juveniles who've been convicted of murder.
A new state law is holding Illinois colleges and universities to a new standard when it comes to sexual assault. Administrators at Western Illinois University are making sure the school's policies align with a new state law that took effect this year. Illinois colleges must now clearly outline their sexual assault response policies. Administrators say they start education about sexual assaults as soon as students arrive at campus, putting them through an online training program.
Make sure that they're aware of resources on campus and in community for medical health services, mental health services, if they need assistance with a no contact order.
According to a sexual assault organization, more universities are upping security on campus, as right now 75% of universities employ armed officers. People with a criminal past may now have a better chance at going to college. The Obama administration says more than 80 colleges and universities have signed on to the Fair Chance for Higher Education pledge. Those schools commit to adopting admissions policies that don't immediately disqualify applicants just because of a criminal record. They also commit to making internships and job training available. Still ahead here at 10 tonight, skipping out why students say a daily classroom routine is costing them their grades.
And just ahead in sports, rivalry week in high school football. Who's walking away tonight with bragging right? Matt's in next with News 8 Sports.
You're watching WQAD News 8 at 10 with Jim Mertens and Dundee Sinitka.